Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, the 20. No, that did it. Rewind. It's Monday, the 18th. I almost said 28th. 28th would be nice because then we would be 8 days into Joe Biden's official presidency. But no, it's still 2 days away, and there's a whole lot of hype about all the different National Guardsmen who were at the Capitol and the White House and the whole 9 yards for the protection of the inauguration. Now, after the whole ordeal where people broke into the Capitol building and looted, rioted, disturbed people, basically just all kinds of wrong stuff going on, I can kind of understand the situation. And this is not just for the protection of Joe or his presidency or his inauguration, but it's also the factor of can't talk again, the varying different parties, and the factor of a lot of ex-Trump supporting politicians, basically. The last couple of days have been very chaotic. I have been stressed because of the different things going on and whatnot. But I've got to the point where it's like, why am I stressing about stuff that I can't control, that I'm not involved in? My only involvement was the vote. Now, there's a whole lot of hubbubaloo on various platforms between TikTok and a lot of other social media, plus some varying reports of the news and whatnot, or not the news, chat rooms and just general social media, basically, about how this is going to start a civil war and yada yada yada. And I'm like, really? Did y'all not read your history books? War of any form, it don't matter if it's a civil war or any kind of war, it don't lead to nothing except for a bunch of bloodshed and heartache. And that's what happened here in the first civil war in this country. A lot of bloodshed and a lot of heartache. There ain't no reason for it. If we can't just learn to live with the decisions that the general populace of the United States makes over a president or a politician or whatever we vote on, some people need to grow up. I say this, and I can say that proudly because of the fact that I know there's a lot of things that I'm still struggling with that I need to grow up about. But this one thing is kind of like, come on. We're going to get into such a panty twisted wad of bullshit because of one person. One person. Now, what we all need to be getting upset about is the fact of all these people who are not wearing masks, that are just perpetuating the possibilities of spreading, or continuously spreading, the coronavirus. Now, somebody in the last vlog I put on made a comment about, if I'm so worried about corona, why am I letting my wife travel? Simply, I know my wife is going to take care of herself. I know my wife is going to, 1, wear her mask, 2, sanitize her hands when she gets done shopping and comes out of a public place, and 3, just take care of herself. She's going to do everything. We've been doing it since day one of the CDC telling us what to do to help prevent coronavirus. We've been doing. I don't know how many people I've kicked in the last week. I don't know how many people I've kicked out of my store for not having masks. I'm not putting up with it no more. And if my boss is telling me I can't do it, I'm going to do it. And I don't care no more. I really don't care when it comes to this, because CDC has been telling this since last March, last January, whenever they found out about coronavirus hitting, outside of China, the area in China where it was started. But people think it's a joke. People think, oh, I don't have to wear it, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Fine. Those of you who don't want to wear it, you'll find out when you get it how bad this situation is. And I can say that because I have an uncle who, him and his wife, my aunt, decided, oh, we don't need to wear the mask. We're not going to wear the mask. He's got corona. He's getting over it. So I can tell you just from experience of my own family, it's not a laughing matter. It's not something to be gawped at. It's not something to be ignored. And I'll tell you this right now. If I go to travel, to go visit family or friends this spring, this summer, I'm going to do the same thing I've been doing right here. Wear my mask when I'm not in public, sanitize my hands when I'm done with being out in public. I have a little bottle. In fact, I probably have to replace it. It's in my coat pocket that I wear to work. And every time I'm done with customers and I'm done wearing the gloves that I have to wear to cut meat up and whatnot, I go back there and I pop that little bottle out of my pocket and sanitize my hands. I'm having trouble breathing lately because of sinus issues and bronchial issues. I still wear the mask. In fact, I know people who suffer from emphysema and other severe breathing problems who have to have a nebulizer or anything like that. When they go out in public, they're wearing their mask. So somebody with asthma or any severe breathing problems where they're using a nebulizer or a medicated inhaler can go out in public and wear a mask. So can you. So can you, Joe, who do not want to, and I don't mean Joe Biden, I mean just Joe Blow, John Doe, whatever you want to call them, the Karens and those people who think, I can go around in public without wearing a mask. No. If they can wear it, you can wear it. I almost, what was it? Wednesday or Thursday before last week sometime, I can't remember when it was, about a week, 2 weeks ago, I got tired of the people I figured was supposed to be the ones telling them to put the mask on, wasn't backing me up. I almost walked out of the store because I saw 10 people at once come in with no mask on, and nobody tried to enforce it, and that's when I put my foot down. I said, either we're going to start enforcing this rule that's on our door that says required masks to come in. Either A, we're going to start enforcing that, or B, I'm just going to walk out one day. I won't care. I'm not risking anything because these people who think they're okay and don't have the virus or don't have any symptoms of the virus, obviously they don't know medical history and don't know the story about Typhoid Mary. And for those of you who notice my stress levels and my attitude levels, my negativity, I apologize to you guys because what's been going on in the last couple of weeks between here locally in my town, as well as our national stance or national attitude or whatnot, and all the hubbubaloo and bumpkus and whatnot over the official thrice counted votes from various states that were considered either swing states or Trump needed those states to win the election. Just accept it. It's one of the biggest things that gets to me. We have a long-standing method of deciding the officials who are going to be in charge of our government during our election season, and it's basically up to the American people to write in their write in who they want on the ballots and whatnot. The whole thing, it's confusing to me, but I do understand enough of it that we all go in, we all put our marks on the ballot and let the officials count the ballot and make make the decision due to the number of votes for any one individual elected person, or however you want to put them. They're not yet elected, but they're on the ballot to be elected. Um, the bulk of America spoke. Let's just settle our butts down and accept it and hold on. See what transpires. If nothing positive transpires, yeah. If nothing positive happens over the first 4 years, we can opt to elect somebody else. That's the way it works. Um, I know a lot of people think something went wrong, but obviously something didn't go wrong. It just, in their minds, it did. I didn't do a video last night. Yes, I'm changing subjects real quick. I'm awake and I'm bouncing all over the place. I did not do a video yesterday, even though I was off, because yesterday was a really bad day for me. I woke up in a very not so positive mood. I don't know why. I don't even know why the whole day went sour. I don't know if it was the gloomy weather or whatnot. But I ran out to the store to get some items that we need to make. Diane tried crustless pizza. I know it sounds weird. It sounded weird to me too. It's like, how do you have a crustless pizza? Well, according to what Jerry told me, that Eden, one of Lisa's daughters in Texas, made it for her. And basically what you do is I don't know if she used a slow cooker or an Instapot or whatnot, but basically what you do is you take all the ingredients that's supposed to go into a pizza, and you cook them in a slow cooker or a crock pot. Basically, you put your tomato sauce, your toppings, whatever toppings you put on your pizza. We're going to basically brown some sausage meat, saute some pepperoni, some onions and peppers and olives, and then after you get done sauteing all that, you pour in your chosen pizza sauce. We're going to use either roasted garlic or roasted pepper. Not roasted pepper. Is it roasted pepper? We're going to use a spaghetti sauce that we normally like, such as roasted garlic. And you just put it all together in your pot and you let it cook. And then once it's done cooking, you put your mozzarella cheese on there and let it melt, and then you serve. Sounds interesting. But since we have not been able to find a keto-friendly pizza crust, I guess that's how you do it. Now, I also heard of another recipe that's basically, it's not a pizza at all. Basically, what you do is you form a ring like you're going to make pizza, and it's basically stuffed with cheese or whatever you want to stuff it with. It's like pizzaless crust or something, some strange title like that. I was just like, okay, sounds odd, but okay. Sure. So last night, basically, I went to the store to get the ingredients for the Crustless pizza, and I don't know what the deal was. Maybe everybody in Rolla was having a bad day. I don't know, but the cashier was she was friendly. You know, every cashier tries to be friendly and greet the customer and whatnot, but she just didn't seem to be sincere about her politeness or pleasantries. She seemed like she didn't really want to be there, so she was just going through the, rigmarole. And I was like, okay, sure, I feel you. I'm not exactly in the right frame of mind to be doing much anyhow. But what really got to me was the arrogance of another customer. Just the rudeness. I mean, like, really? Really? So you're having a bad day and you're going to take it out on a cashier or another person. I try not to take my bad days out on people. I don't always succeed, but most of the time it's basically nonverbal. It's usually just just a look or a walk, whatever you want to call it. But what furthered my anger for the day was I was getting ready to pull out of my parking place. Nobody in front of me. So I figured I'd pull forward and go around because it's easier than backing up and then going. Well, I'm like, I know my tires were over that line getting ready to, and I was literally moving forward. And some young kid in her car, literally right in front of me. If it wasn't for the fact that I was going slow to make sure that I didn't hit nobody or anything like that, we would have had an accident right there. But instead of like looking at me like, oh, I'm sorry, let me back up and let you out, she started honking her horn at me. And I'm like, really? I'm half in and half out of the two spots moving forward. And you want to jump in front of me and start honking your horn at me like I'm in the wrong? I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. It could have been. Yeah, some people can consider it a double negative because I'm trying to move forward through the empty slot in front of me. But her literally just flying in front of me and start honking her horn like I'm supposed to put my car in reverse to back out. I wanted to literally put my car in park and just sit there and wait for her to get the freaking clue. I have never had road rage or any form of rage in a long time to the point where I literally wanted to literally jump out of my car and basically put dents in hers with my bare fists. But I was like, fine. You want to be an arrogant little turd? Fine. So I backed my car up and I angled my car to drive past her, to move forward to drive past her. Because I don't know what it is lately, but it's like either A, my car is invisible, or people just don't pay attention to, anything around them. They just do what they want to do and don't care. But as I was passing her by, she wanted to flick me off. And I drew the line. I stopped my car, rolled down my window, and I said, look, you're a little younger than I am, and I'm trying to be as polite as possible. You were the one who was in the wrong. I could have just parked and sat there and let your butt stick out in the middle of nowhere until somebody came and towed your butt away. But my final words to her was, happy Sunday. Get a life. I'm just done with people like that. It's just like, somebody told me something funny about people like that. And I did not fully understand it until yesterday. And what that person told me, and this is another white person, goes, that kind of attitude is your typical overprivileged white man. And I just kind of went, what? I don't understand. I do now. Too many of these young people nowadays, too many of these newer generations who are just either joining the workforce or getting into college, have either grown up with digital devices. Grew up as a kid, they had their Xbox, their GameCube, their, stage 1 PlayStation, whatever you want to call it. While people like, somebody put it on TikTok, and I wish I could copy it and paste it, but it's a video, so I don't know how to do that. But the person talked about people who were born in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, before personal computers at home, before gaming systems in your home, where we grew up. And I'm talking about we, because I was born in the 70s. I did not have a game station or a gaming system until mid 80s, when I got an Atari. Yeah, I remember the Atari. We didn't have TVs with 99 stations. We did not have gaming systems. We didn't have anything to basically keep us indoors. So we had to get out of our house to have fun, to play. We learned how to make friends quickly. We had friends still probably have friends throughout our life. I would probably still have friends from Arizona if I didn't move around so much, or I didn't leave Arizona. We had to learn a lot of stuff. There was no child safety mechanisms on our plugs or door latches or things like that, and just a lot of things that we grew up with that made us different than the new generations that have gaming systems, and they don't know the face of the person they're talking to, but they're friends. That kind of thing. And I look at that and I go, yeah. I remember trying to help somebody plug a lamp in behind a couch and getting shocked. I remember the Pyrex casserole dish that came falling off the top of the freezer when I opened up the freezer to get a juice pop or sucker or ice cream bar or whatever you call those back then. Those ice pops. There we go, ice pop. And that casserole dish shattered and broke, and I have a scar on my left foot. Is it my left foot? I still have a scar on my left foot from where a shard of that casserole dish, big shard, went literally into my foot. I remember the years that we went from Arkansas to St. Louis, Missouri, from Little Rock to St. Louis during the holidays to visit family, and I was riding in the back end of the Hornet facing backwards instead of oncoming traffic. I was facing whatever was behind us, having all kinds of fun rolling around in the back end of the Hornet. Old Plymouth Hornet. My God, I remember that car. There's a lot of things that we did 70s and earlier that were nowadays considered dangerous or inappropriate for a child, or bad parenting, whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, no, 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 it's not bad parenting, Dr. Spock. It was being raised proper. It was being raised in a family oriented era where families were more important than, having a TV and a game system in the bedroom for the kids to go play while mommy and daddy watched whatever without them. Because culture shock, before 1980, before we went to Germany, TV did not have nudity, profanity, any sexually, or anything that could be considered sexual. Very little to no violence. Go to Germany. Well, in Germany during the 80s, they, granted I didn't know the language that well, except for some keywords. But in Germany, they did not censor anything. You could be watching a primetime, not a primetime, a daytime soap opera, and you can sit there and watch a shower scene. Culture shock. Come back to the States, and there are now commercials talking about men's underwear and tampons and just various other things that they didn't show before the 80s on TV. And then the language was getting worse, and the violence was getting worse. And here we are in the 2000s, and I'm just waiting for one day where I turn on the TV to a regular TV show, and there's a shower scene with very little to no barrier between the camera and the person in the shower. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because kids are going to learn one way or another what the opposite sex looks like. But it just seems like TV is showing more and more what the world is really doing, or it's either A, TV is reflecting what's happening around the world, or B, the world is being reflected by TV. Like, what came first, the actual violence or the violence on TV? It's one of those things where it's like, I've been alive for 49 years, and I've seen how the world has changed. I've seen how America has changed. And to be honest with you, with my world views and my knowledge of the world and how other countries operate or function, or at least enough of what's going on in the other countries to know what they're doing, I'm ashamed of my own country, because we are behind in renewable fuels compared to a lot of European countries. Our police force is more prone towards using a weapon and instead of just, trying to deal with the situation without drawing a weapon. We're the worst in crime, worst in corruption, worst in pollution, and yet many Americans can stand up and say, I'm proud. Proud of what? Proud of the fact that we use violence to earn our freedom. A lot of countries have, unfortunately. I am proud. There are certain things about this country I am proud about, because, in fact, I've been around long enough to see how we've dealt with certain situations. But I'm also not proud of this country because, in fact, we're still one of the top 10 polluters of our environment, and we're not catching up with other countries fast enough to decrease the pollutions, let alone I don't think we'll ever be able to change our environment back to the way it was unless we stop cutting down trees and start planting more trees and just use renewable resources like hydropower, solar energy, wind energy, thermal energy, like they've done in Iceland and other parts of the world where they have thermal vents and whatnot. That in fact are recycling. There are certain parts of even here in Missouri that if you want to recycle, you have to literally take it to the recycling center. Or if there are certain things that you want to recycle, you have to take to the recycling center because you can't just. Not everybody recycles the same materials. Like here in Rolla, there are certain materials that even though it has the recycling symbol on it, if it doesn't have a certain number, they won't take it. You have to literally take it yourself. That in fact, we're just barely starting to touch some of the newer fangled, less polluting systems. Like, okay, for instance, we're just now starting to get the Tesla, the all-electric vehicle here in the States. They've had that in China, or not China, but Japan especially, for almost a decade. I don't know how long they've had electric-driven trains and like the bullet trains and whatnot, those super fast trains that they have in China and Japan and in certain parts of Europe. We haven't done that yet. Our subways and whatnot, they use electric, but they're not totally electric. They still have I think they still have a combustion engine, but I'm not sure. Parts of England, Italy, and I can't remember what other country that I was reading about that are using that they not only are they using electrical cars for like inside their big cities, but they have more stations to park and charge your vehicle. We're just barely starting that here. And it's like, I don't know if you can drive a Tesla across country because I don't think there's enough charging stations in this nation to drive a Tesla from California to New York. There's just a lot of things that we need to do to catch up. Problem is, here in America, there are too many companies or too many people with big money who don't want that because some oil companies and whatnot will start losing business if Tesla or electric vehicles of any form were to take over, and the need for combustion engines, which is oil and gasoline, petrol, whatever, will be obsolete. The one thing I did hear that Biden was doing that I was like, yes, Biden's put a stop to the oil pipeline that's going through the Dakotas, which is going through Native American lands that we gave the Native Americans way back 100 plus years ago. And I'm like, good. Now, I can understand the usefulness of natural gas and whatnot because a lot of places here in Raleigh have natural gas stoves, natural gas furnaces, things like that. That's fine and dandy. But the actual oil, which is more lethal in my mind for certain reasons than natural gas. One, here's the difference between natural gas. Natural gas, one, is a gas. It is a natural causing gas. Yes, oil is a natural product that you have to drill for, but if there's an oil spill, it is nasty. It does all kinds of dangers or damages to the environment, to the animals, to lands, things like that, that make basically, if you let's just say oil. Oil is the more liquefied form of tar. Now, if you've ever gone to the La Brea tar pits and studied history about the tar pits, you would realize that oil and tar are almost the same thing, just one of them is more liquefied, and the other one is more gummy. Both of them, basically, once they are out in the open, can catch fire, mess up the land, kill plants, kill animals if the animals aren't cleaned off. Why would you want that stuff anywhere on the surface? There's a reason why it's underground now. Why would you want that stuff anywhere on the surface? You know what? Have you ever seen Event Horizon about the oil derrick? How because of a mess up during drilling, it caused the derrick to literally catch fire and explode. They were digging for oil. Now, from what I understand, there are pockets of gas above the oil. I'm sorry. If something like oil and the gas that's above the oil can cause a oil derrick on the ocean to erupt into flames, why would you want that anywhere? Why would you? That's a recipe for disaster. And it's one of those things where it's like, no. I would be like the Native Americans if I had to deal with a pipeline going through my land. I would have a fit. I would do anything and everything I could to keep it from happening. It's an environmental catastrophe waiting to happen. And we're from having centuries of coal burning and oil burning plants and whatnot, we've pretty much screwed up our environment, screwed up the atmosphere. That's why we have holes in the atmosphere causing wildfires and just all kinds of dangers because of the greenhouse gases that we created via oil and coal burning. Our cars. I love my van. I'll be honest with you. I won't deny the fact that I love having a vehicle. But the thing is, if my car gets to the point where it's belching black fumes or having issues where I'm taking the thing to just make sure it's running up to snuff and not being a pollutant, I give it up. I give it up. I get healthy. I used to walk a lot. I used to ride a bike a lot. I don't do that much anymore. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm having problems with my legs and whatnot, because of the fact that I don't exercise them. I stand all day at my job. I'm all over this house doing stuff. I'm pretty sure if I kept up with riding a bike or walking, I wouldn't have as many problems as I do now. Some people might say, well, that's why you have so many problems, because you walked and rode your bike all over the place. No, I think the reason why I have health problems is because for 30 plus years, 39, almost 40 years of my life, I drank soda and ate crap, junk food, stuff like that. And that's why my health has deteriorated so quickly. Okay, I got water. There's just a lot of things that I'm pretty sure a lot of us look back and go, well, if I did that differently, or if I didn't do that, or I didn't have that lifestyle of not caring and not, it's not just not caring, sometimes we just don't know. I can say this much. Even though with all the bad stuff that I did as a kid, all the junk food and soda and whatnot that I drank in my younger days, I'm still 3 years older than my dad was. Now, did I expect to outlive my dad? No, no. See, when I was younger, I found out two things I didn't quite understand. One, my family, the Henson side of the family, my mom's side of the family was a little bit better than the Henson side of the family. But my dad's side of the family, we have, they called it a curse. They called it the family curse. And what they were talking about was every other generation has severe health problems and they don't live past their 50s. Aunt Kay, my Aunt Kay was an exception. She lived into her 50s, but she had all kinds of health problems. She had high blood pressure, diabetes. She had multiple heart attacks, triple heart bypass surgery 3 different times. She, they basically were keeping her going, or something was keeping her going, put it that way. We think it was my father because it was 3 to 4 months after he passed that she gave up the ghost. She finally was done. And what I was like, what do you mean there's like, we have a family curse or something? And basically what it is like one generation will have all these health problems and die at an early age, while the generation after that they'll have some problems, but they'll live a good, long, healthy life. Now, I don't know if I'm at the end of the generation gap or what, but knock on wood, the only problem I have so far is genetic high cholesterol and moderate to high blood pressure. And we do monitor that. My mom's side of the family, is, I don't know if I'd call them blessed or not, but most of mom's side of the family will live into their 80s, 90s, and even higher. In fact, my mom had an aunt, my second aunt, who we believe if it wasn't for the fact that she fell and cracked her hip, broke her hip, basically, she would have lived well into 100. She died, what did I say, a week to 2 weeks before she turned 100 years old. Yeah. So I'm like, so I can either have a life expectancy of 90 or somewhere in between 60 and 90 is what I'm guessing. Not that I want to kick the bucket early. It's just I'm like, okay. I have both my mom's and my dad's side of the family. My dad's side of the family, most of the time they die young. In fact, most of dad's side of the family, except for Aunt Kay, dad's sister, they all died before they turned 50. His brother, his other sisters, his other brother. Actually, I don't even know how old Jack was when he passed. But he passed after Kay. But was Jack the youngest or was my dad the youngest? I don't know. That's an interesting question I have to look up now. But even with all the chaos that goes on around us, all the negative stuff, all the stuff that's been going on this last 3 months, 4 months almost, since the election, basically, I look at it and I go, yeah, it disturbs me, causes me stress, it gets me riled up. It has all kinds of negative effects. This particular election, excuse me. I I look at all the things that are backwards or chaotic or wrong in this nation, and then I look at the rest of the world and go, okay, when it comes to coronavirus, we're all in the same boat. The whole globe, the whole planet, the whole shebang. There's not one area of this globe that the coronavirus pandemic has not touched. We might not hear about how bad it is, or what the death tolls are, or what how full the hospitals are, or those kind of things from overseas, from places like Europe or Asia or even Africa and Australia, let alone South America. We've been so focused on America and how we're dealing with it and how bad it is here. Just think about this. There are several billion people on this planet, and we have lost a couple million globally. Our own nation has lost over 2 million. I think the global death toll has been 100 or so million people who passed away. I don't know the exact numbers because I haven't looked in a long time, because I just got to the point where it's like I can't look at the numbers no more because it's just getting like outrageous. Now, there are a lot of people who are thinking, okay, this is, the apocalypse, or the beginning of the apocalypse, or Ragnarok, or whatever you want to call it. Even I've said it before. I don't know. We can only read the book of Revelation, or read various religious texts on what the end times are going to be like. I just know this much. As a global community, we need to pull together. Now, a lot of countries have enforced and mandated masks, or self-quarantines, or social distancing. In fact, a lot of countries over in Europe, especially in the UK, I've heard about this in the UK especially, and Norway. What they did in the height of the pandemic was they literally, they mandated masks. You could not leave your home or go into public places, let alone be out in public, without a mask on. The only time you did not need to have your mask on is while you were at home. But the second you walked out your front door, you had to have a mask on. And they banned travel. They basically locked their countries down to the point of no travel in or out. You had to stay home unless you were mandated to go to work, unless you were an essential worker. And the only time you can leave your home is for like grocery shopping or medical appointments. No social gathering. A lot of their pubs, restaurants, and places like that literally closed down. Which I know for Ireland, that probably was like the end of the world. You're closing the pub? Not possible. But anyhow, we didn't mandate anything. We did not. The only thing we did was basically locked or closed down public facilities that we considered non-essential. The only thing that was open besides the medical personnel and police and fire was like grocery stores. The fast food restaurants were left open as long as nobody was in the store. In other words, you can go to your fast food restaurant if they had a window, if they had a drive-through. If they did not have a drive-through or delivery system, they were closed. It was kind of interesting it was interesting, and because of all the stories I heard from Europe, that the countries that, just about the whole world, but the U.S. did lockdowns and whatnot, and their numbers dropped. Ours did not. In fact, ours actually spiked because we did not mandate and enforce the mask rule or the shutdowns or anything like that. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you can't shut down this country. If you do, it will fall apart. It's falling apart already because of the pandemic. It's falling apart because of the fact that we did not do a shutdown like they were doing over in Europe or Asia or Australia. And we spiked. In fact, everything's been spiking and getting worse. In fact, right here in Rolla, I've heard about, I should say right here in Missouri, all the big cities around us, Sullivan, I don't know about St. Robert, but Springfield, Jeff, Columbia, St. Louis, they're enforcing the mandate. They're enforcing the mandate. And in fact, a lot of those towns that I just mentioned, or cities I just mentioned, are talking about shutting down, doing a lockdown, even if the whole state's not doing a lockdown, because Sullivan, which is a major city or town, just like Rolla, about 45 minutes away, and Rolla, has seen increased cases, and the city officials are basically like, we're going to do, if this keeps on going on, we're probably going to do a lockdown. Now, this is a long video, and I'm sorry. I'm going to end this real quick. I heard rumors from various news broadcast stations and whatnot that once Joe Biden gets elected, he's going to enforce a mandated mask wearing, where you can get yourself into major trouble if you don't have a mask on in public. There's already been rules established that if you go out in public to restaurants that are still open, you have to wear the mask inside the store. Once you get your food and you sit down, you can take the mask off to eat the food and drink your soda or drink your drink, whatever. But once you're done, you have to put the mask back on. So the only time you can have the mask off while you're in public is if you're eating or drinking. And I'm like, well, that's already established in Rolla, but nobody's enforcing it. So if President-elect Biden decides to enforce it and make it a countrywide mandate, that gives me, right now I have the Rolla government's official ability to basically tell people to get out of my store if they don't have masks. I'm hoping I've heard the different plans. President-elect Joe Biden wants to increase the output of the vaccine. He wants to mandate mask wearing. There may or may not be a official lockdown. There's a lot of things involving this pandemic that President-elect Joe Biden wants to basically pound it in. It's like, no, we've got to do this. All these other countries did it before, and their numbers were dropping. In fact, the virus was practically non-existing in Norway until they reopened their borders for incoming shipments and travel and whatnot. And then their numbers spiked again, but not as bad as our numbers. And there's already countries overseas that are basically talking about doing another lockdown. The thing is, I think the whole world, because of this pandemic, need to do a major lockdown. Now, the good thing about the lockdown would be we can focus on America, and we can focus on American products, and we can focus on getting America healthy again. Just like I'm pretty sure every other country that's going to do a lockdown, if they do a second lockdown, is going to do the same thing. They're going to rely on their own country's infrastructure and production of products and whatnot in their own country to get their country healthy again. And I think that's what we need to do as a global community. Every country needs to do a lockdown and focus on their country to make their country healthy again. And once the world gets to a healthy point, we can reopen and commerce can be reestablished. Things like that. If you notice that my face looks like it's getting redder, it's because the sun is trying to come through the clouds. We've had an overcast morning, and these curtains are red, so my face changes with the brightness of the curtain. But anyhow, I think this is one of the major things we need to do. Is we need to lock down our country. Every country needs to lock down their countries and focus on their internal, getting their people healthy, getting this vaccine going. Um, and I think that's one of the things that would make America great again, is if we had to rely on our own factories and whatnot to produce clothing and electronic devices, and possibly reopen Motor City, make Motor City back to the way it was when we were building our cars here in this country. There's a lot of things from the 70s before we started doing a lot of outsourcing, basically, is what I'm going to put it. Levi jeans. You don't see those no more. Those were one of the biggest American-made jeans that was something the whole world wanted. Everybody wanted, oh, Levi jeans, man, they're comfortable, they fit nice, they don't chafe, they don't have this weird fabric that rubs your thighs into rashes or anything like that. I used to love Levi jeans. I can't find Levi jeans no more. I'm lucky if I find jeans nowadays that I like. Wrangler was another American-made jean that I hated those. I hated Wrangler. The fabric was weird feeling. I always got like rashes and whatnot from the material rubbing my legs and thighs the wrong way, and I hated it. No matter how many times I washed those jeans, I could not get them to feel comfortable. Anyhow, it's just food for thought. I mean, my attitude towards this country has not changed since I was a kid. I love this country. I can't say that I hate this country, because I don't. I just see different things that we could be doing to make America great again, the way it was. But I don't want it to be back in the 70s where, I just like the whole attitude during the 70s was like America, America. We didn't have the strife that we do nowadays. We do not have the lack of business nowadays because we're outsourcing most of our business nowadays. There are plenty of people out there who are like me that have trouble getting a good, high-paying, white-collar job. I'm stuck in blue-collar land. I'm stuck in food service. You know what? That's fine. Maybe that's my lot in life. Maybe that's what I was, what I'm designed for, is food service. I have no complaints about my job, but I have complaints about the fact that there are plenty of people who have certain skill sets that cannot get a job because their skill sets are not here in America no more because they've been outsourced. It's just food for thought. Anyhow, this has been almost an hour-long video, and I'm sorry. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up if you like this video. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the comment box. If you're new to my channel, there's a subscribe button you can click, and then a little bell that you can click on, and the bell will let you basically have YouTube notify you when I put in my next video. Until next time, have a good day. Bye.